I'm Kara Reynolds, Director at Coffey County Transportation, a 5311 agency in CTD 5. Wow, what a year we have had. I have worked at Coffey County Transportation for 9 years. Ridership had increased every year, and our goal for 2020 was 20,000 rides. We were right on track until COVID-19 derailed us. Over the past year, we experienced many learning curves. As director, I participated in an uncountable number of online trainings, meetings, brainstorming sessions, and COVID updates. And I read many articles on best practices for rural transit agencies. Today, I will be talking about how we handled staffing during the pandemic and bus barriers. First, I would like to talk about staffing. Due to travel limitations and limited doctor visits, trip counts dropped almost overnight. In normal times, we would run 8 buses daily. Almost overnight, we were down to 2 or 3. Some days we only needed 1. To protect our drivers and help reduce possible exposure, we implemented a tiered working schedule. The drivers were split into 3 groups. Then the schedule was split into a working week, an on-call week, and an off week. On the working week, one group of drivers was expected to be available Monday through Friday. On the on-call week, if the number of routes was more than the number of available work week drivers, the dispatcher called one of the drivers in the on-call group. And during the off week, the drivers were not called to work at all. The idea was that if a driver had exposure at work, contact tracing for the other drivers would be easier and hopefully reduce the number of drivers in quarantine. During this time, we also implemented a supplemental pay policy that allowed drivers to be paid for the number of hours each week they would have normally worked. We utilized the rotating schedule for about 3 months. This supplemental pay policy has since been changed twice as business began increasing. If you would like to see any of these policies, feel free to call or email me. Next, I would like to talk about bus barriers. Initially, clear shower curtains were hung to divide the driver and passenger areas. This worked well as a temporary solution, but as months went by, it was obvious that a more permanent solution was needed. Barriers for the minivans and transit vans that attached to the headrests were purchased. The drivers are pleased with them as they are not stationary, but move with the seats, as they are adjusted for each driver. We could not find a barrier solution for the cutaway buses that we felt was sufficient to protect against the spread of COVID-19. While reading a national RTAP article on COVID-19, I saw a photo of a barrier in a cutaway of Huron Transit out of Michigan. I contacted them to see where they were purchased from. Turns out they also could not find barriers that they were happy with, so they made their own. Kyle sent me their dimensions and photos so we could make our own. We are very happy with them. If you are interested in fabricating your own as well, feel free to send me an email and I'll give you the information I have. Some final words of experience for running a rural public transportation agency in a pandemic. Everything must remain fluid as rules changed daily. Keep calm and transit on. No need to get worked up or stressed out. Do what you can to keep transit running. And breathe. Fresh air and deep breaths are good for the heart, mind, and soul. Remember, you're not the only agency going through this. Don't hesitate to pick up the phone or send an email to see how another agency is handling it. For 2020, instead of celebrating a record number of rides, we're celebrating making it through the pandemic without closing down. Business is picking up and people are going out again. We're still looking forward to hitting the 20,000 ride mark. Maybe 2022 is the year for that. Do you have a tip? Feel free to share it. We can learn so much from each other. Have a great 2021.